let's just talk about the outlook for China's economy in particular and what you're seeing, because I think what we were discussing is that there's been quite a divergence, or a little bit of a divergence that's coming out now between what we're seeing in the private readings and the official readings for PMI, in terms of the private survey is looking a little bit more optimistic from the latest numbers, and that's the one that really tracks the smaller businesses and it tracks the exporters in particular, and that's really what you're seeing as well as president of Alibaba.com. So based on the businesses that you're dealing with, what would you say is the overall health and outlook at this point in time?
So Alibaba.com, actually, we serve around 200,000 SMEs, suppliers, in China and also globally. And what we see this year compared with last year, I think several things. The first one is more and more SMEs is willing to participate in the global trade. So they are more willing to sell globally. So one example is that there's a small city in EU, all the commodities actually selling and distributing in EU. And for the first quarter of this fiscal year, so customers in EU who join Alibaba.com actually grow 70% compared with last year.
Where are you really aiming to expand then Alibaba.com? Which markets are you going after?
So let's say from the buyer side and the supplier side. So from the supplier side, actually, we expand the supplies. So now it's not only in China, but it also expand globally as well, like in Southeast Asia, in Korea, in Europe, in Mexico, and North America. And last year, actually, we do acquisition in Europe called Visible, which is the biggest kind of marketplace in Europe. VOV for the Dutch language area and Europages for the rest of Europe. So now we are supporting them from the technology perspective to enable them to boost from the yellow pages to transactions to the kind of like the guarantee services that we provided to help the intra-business kind of trade. And Alibaba.com can help the global SMEs do the cross-border trade. So this is what we're going to expand. And for the buyer side, actually it's global buyers. The buyers, which is booming now, is in US, in Europe, and also in Latin America and Southeast Asia, this kind of developing countries. And different countries actually have the different type of demands for different categories.
The value proposition, I think, from a buyer is pretty clear. You can get perhaps a product for a cheaper price. What do you think then that there are concerns around overcapacity, for instance, from a lot of different European countries? How do you respond to those concerns? Because that sort of does speak quite closely to the Alibaba.com model of being able to connect more suppliers to new markets and offer good products for lower prices.
So in one way, that we are kind of enrich our selections with multiple supplies, like supplies in Europe. So we see there's a great supplies for fashion in France, like wines in Italy, and the machineries in Germany and in Italy as well. So there's a lot of SMEs actually doing a great job on Alibaba.com. And as well as we mentioned before, that we do acquisition, investment on Visible. We do that it's not only for a kind of financial investment. We are going to use our technology and the know-hows to kind of boost their technology engine to help the small and medium business within the Europe to do the kind of intra-Europe collaboration. So I think there's one part. The second part is the fundamental rule for global trade is supply and demand. So if there is demand required for kind of a quality product with a better price, and what we are going to provide is to lower the barrier for both sides. So the SMEs themselves, the entrepreneurs themselves can survive, get enough margin out of that can make a business.
Earlier this year, we did some reporting from the Canton Trade Fair, and some of the different people that we were speaking to there said that even with the risk of some very hefty tariffs, and that was referring to possible Trump tariffs if he were elected president again, but they would be able to withstand them given that the price is so competitive that's coming from China, and the quality as well is also so high that it still is a very competitive and compelling way or area or country to purchase from. what's your view on how much Chinese companies and the SMEs that are on the platform, how much can they withstand that risk of extra levies being applied to their products?
Okay. All the entrepreneurs, from their eyes, there are many problems that they need to solve. So what product I'm going to provide, what type of employees I'm going to hire, and what about the kind of, the economics, tax, and tariff is only one part of the tax. So when we see the global supply and demand, we're starting from the fundamental ones and how to improve the efficiency and how to help them to build up their own business based on the global supply chain, which is more competitive also for the SMEs. So that is what we do today.